Liberty Nation with Tim Donner.
As we've recounted during this week's show, the inauguration of Joe Biden was 180 degrees removed from any inauguration any of us have ever witnessed. What's usually a joyous occasion, especially for a new president of a different party, and especially when the man he was reported to defeat was viewed as pure evil, turned out to be an extraordinarily grim occasion with National Guard troops outnumbering spectators by more than 10 to 1. And while we've always seen those glamorous inaugural balls in the past, there were no Biden balls. Makes you pine for the days, essentially every inauguration day in modern America, when it was an occasion for hope and soaring promises and glamour and style. Joining me now to recount our shared journey through a number of inaugurations and or inaugural balls we've attended over the years is my much better half and the editor-in-chief of fast-rising LibertyNation.com, Leesa K. Donner. Leesa, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
My pleasure as always, of course. So, I went to the inauguration of Richard Nixon as a child in 1969 and Jimmy Carter in 1977 before we knew each other. I particularly remember Carter becoming the first president to get out of his limo and shake hands with people. That's now become almost standard in typical inaugural parades. But you and I have been, I would say, semi-regulars at inauguration since 1984 when we attended one of the balls after Reagan's second inauguration. Remember, it was so cold that they canceled the inaugural parade?
Yeah, it was absolutely freezing. And I remember we attended the ball at the Washington Hilton where President Reagan was shot just a few months after being inaugurated for his first term.
So maybe that was the last time before Biden that the parade was canceled, only that was involuntary cancellation. Now,
I think I'm right about this. Reagan was, they were making fun of his age, but I believe he took the oath in just a morning coat and not in an overcoat.
Well, what I remember about that inaugural ball was that we got lost. We got separated from each other. You were with my family and you all knew where you were. I didn't, and I had no way to reach you because there weren't any cell phones. We spent most of the evening separated and I was wandering around aimlessly in a sea of, thousands of people, the thousands of Reagan's best friends.
Well, the truth about inaugural balls are that they are just a crush of humanity. I mean, it's sort of go to be seen, but how can you be seen in such a crowd? Right. And the Washington Hilton is one of the largest hotel ballrooms in all of Washington. It's literally thousands of people.
It is. So in 1988, we went to the inaugural ball for Bush 41 at DC's Union Station, which had been redesigned by Elizabeth Dole during the Reagan years. And all I remember from that is the same as the Reagan ball, a sea of humanity crowded in like sardines.
Well, the one thing I remember is that the Washington Union Station has like a platform above, and George and Barbara Bush came out and spun around the dance floor. And that was pretty cool. But, one of the things I remember about all of these inaugural events, whether it was the actual inauguration that we went to or the balls, there were always protests. I mean, this wasn't anything new. I mean, Americans expressed their right to protest. So, this year, I don't know about hope, but we certainly got a lot of change in the inauguration. I was like, they were terrified of people protesting. Now, I understand the Capitol thing happened the week before, a couple of weeks before. But honestly, the Capitol thing wasn't the biggest civil unrest we've had. It just happened to be in an unusual place, the U.S. Capitol.
Well, and of course, that was one riot compared to the roughly 250 plus that we witnessed during the summer, where very few people, it seems, were actually prosecuted for setting setting communities ablaze and all the rest. We don't have to go into more of it, but let's jump forward to the next inauguration we attended, George W. Bush in 2001, after his razor thin, and that doesn't even describe it, victory over Al Gore. Most people didn't believe on the left that he was a legitimate president, just like Donald Trump. But you have particularly distinct memories of that one.
So I remember your mother and I getting out of a car, and there were all these protesters. I believe at the time it was called Code Pink. And
Yes.
they seemed to be very, very upset that we were wearing fur coats. Meanwhile, that was an environment that a fur coat was made for. I mean, it was absolutely freezing. And so they heckled us, when we got out of the car and we were headed into the hotel, that specific hotel for that ball. But it was no big deal. I mean, nobody was throwing cement milkshakes at us. They were heckling us and hassling us.
It was freezing cold and windy and rainy. And I remember a line that we've used many times since, when we had to squeeze into, it was like six of us squeezing into a vehicle that really fit four.
It was a Jeep Cherokee, I remember.
It was a Jeep Cherokee. It was like 6 or 7 of us trying to fit in it. And when my father said that he wanted the driver to come back later to take us somewhere, actually to the inaugural ball, he said, "I hope you can get a bigger vehicle, because we'd like to arrive at the inaugural ball with some dignity."
Yeah, that was just a great line. I think your brother had to lay down in the trunk of the car, and we were all mushed.
Something like that. So the Bush 43 second inaugural in 2005, which we attended, was low key, as most inaugurals are for a guy who's already president. We got within maybe 40 yards of the Capitol step.
Yeah,
the Capitol steps where the oath was administered.
That one kept hearkening back to me, because as we were trying to get Liberty Nation's Scott Cosenza down to the inauguration this year, I realized that they had taken away every single method that we used. And I remember my mother wasn't in good shape, and she really wanted to go to the inaugural itself. So we took her in a wheelchair. We took the metro. We walked the wheelchair to the Capitol grounds, and we got pretty close. We could actually see him taking the oath of office. We were just regular people. We didn't have any fancy tickets. We didn't have, get into the viewing stand, but we were just regular Americans who wanted to attend the inauguration of the President of the United States, and we had the opportunity to do that. And that's what I felt was so sad about this inauguration. I mean, 25,000 National Guard. The entire mall was closed off. Normally they issue 200,000 tickets. They issued 2,000 tickets. And I just felt like it was not fair to the American people, not just the protesters, but people who supported Biden and wanted to come out and see their guy who they supported be inaugurated.
Now, let's talk about the Trump inaugural. When we attended one of the pre-inaugural balls the night before of the swearing in, that was Trump entering the swamp, which he was proposing to drain. So the atmosphere was different than at other inaugurals, it seemed.
But I remember there were plenty of protesters at Trump's inauguration, plenty of them. And
in fact, there were about more than 20 people arrested that night in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. And I think we went to the Boots and something ball. I don't remember. But look, I think Americans, have a right to protest. They don't have a right to maim and kill and vandalize. But I think just shutting out all the protests is really quite un-American.
Leesa K. Donner, editor-in-chief of LibertyNation.com. Leesa, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Tim. Hi, I'm Leesa K. Donner, along with Mark Angelides, Sarah Cowgill, Tim Donner, and Scott Cosenza, and this is Liberty Nation.
Now let's take a look at the LibertyNation.com electoral leaderboard. It's still 238 for Joe Biden.
What if stories and legends can offer us the key to unraveling the hottest political issues of the day and apply their lessons to understanding the chaos of modern politics?
Impeach 45!
Only where freedom of speech is honored can people who look, sound, or think differently be truly free.
If you're discussing something that's difficult, the probability that you're not going to offend each other is zero.
President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Donald J. Trump is now president.
With one click, Liberty Nation delivers tomorrow's news.
And remember, liberty.
Today.
All the time and everywhere.
LibertyNation.com.